Have you ever been so close to death that you could feel it breathing down your neck? This is the story of a voice in the darkness, a voice that shouldn't have been there, a voice that defied every logical explanation, and a voice that saved a life when death seemed inevitable. The ocean is beautiful in postcards and vacation photos. But out there, in the middle of nowhere, when the sun disappears and the waves grow hungry, the ocean reveals its true face. This is not a story of dramatic rescue helicopters. This is a story of something far more mysterious, something that happened when all hope was lost. It started like any other fishing trip. The weather looked clear. The boat was in good condition. But 3 hours into the journey, the engine died. The backup wouldn't start. The fuel line was compromised. Drifting. That's all there was now. Just drifting in an endless expanse of water with the coastline invisible. The radio barely worked. The emergency beacon had a dead battery. The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful oranges and reds. But when you're stranded at sea, those colors don't mean beauty. They mean darkness is coming. Nighttime at sea is unlike anything on land. The darkness is absolute. The boat rocked violently with each wave. Water splashed over the sides, cold and unforgiving. The sounds, the creaking of the hull, the howling wind, the endless slapping of waves. Hypothermia sets in slowly. First a slight shiver. Then your fingers go numb. Your thinking becomes foggy. You try to stay awake because falling asleep might mean never waking up. But exhaustion is powerful. Your body starts to shut down, preparing for the end. And that's when the hallucinations begin. It came as a whisper at first. A voice, clear, distinct, impossible. Stay awake, just 2 words. But those 2 words cut through the fog of hypothermia like a knife. Eyes shot open, heart pounding. There was no one there, just darkness and waves. But the voice had been so real, so close. You're hallucinating, the rational mind insisted. But then it came again, louder, more insistent. Stay awake. Move your arms, move your legs. It was a command. And something deep inside knew this voice had to be obeyed. Frozen fingers started to move. Arms began to swing. Legs started to kick. Fighting against the cold. Fighting against exhaustion. Fighting against death itself. The second night was worse. Dehydration had set in, lips cracked and bleeding. The tongue felt like sandpaper. The temptation to drink seawater was overwhelming. But the voice spoke again. Don't drink it. You know better. Hour after hour, the voice kept talking. Sometimes encouraging, sometimes stern, sometimes it told stories, keeping the mind occupied, keeping consciousness from slipping away. As the sun began to rise on the 3rd day, strength was almost gone. The voice had been quiet. Maybe this was the end. But just as eyes began to close one last time, it came back urgently. Stand up. Look at the horizon. Northeast. Stand up now with the last reserves of energy. Pulling up to standing, gripping the side of the boat. and there, barely visible in the morning light, a ship, arms, waving on pure instinct. No energy for shouting. The ship seemed to be moving away, but then it turned. Slowly, impossibly, it turned. The crew later said they had no reason to change course, but one crew member had an overwhelming feeling to check that area. An overwhelming feeling. Just like the voice that had been giving commands for 2 nights. The rescue is a blur, strong hands pulling a lifeless body from the boat, warm blankets, water in tiny sips, the ship's doctor shaking his head. "You shouldn't be alive," he said. "How did you stay conscious? How do you explain a voice that shouldn't exist?" In the hospital, the questions began. Psychiatrists suggested hallucinations from stress. Religious counselors suggested divine intervention. Skeptics said it was the subconscious survival instinct. But none captured the reality of that presence. The clarity of those commands, the specificity of that final instruction to look northeast at that exact moment. There are documented cases of people hearing voices during extreme survival. Mountaineers report a third-man phenomenon. Sailors tell stories of ghostly companions. Scientists call it psychological coping. But those who've experienced it know it's something more. Something that exists between the measurable and the miraculous. After the rescue, research became an obsession. The stories are remarkably consistent. The voice is always calm, always specific, always right. One mountaineer was told to dig into the snow during a blizzard when every instinct screamed to keep moving. That snow cave saved his life. Another sailor was told to change course by 15 degrees, avoiding a massive storm. These are specific, clear instructions that result in survival. Is it guardian angels? The untapped potential of the human mind? Something else entirely? Years have passed. Life returned to normal, or as normal as it can be after you've been that close to death. But the memory never fades. Sometimes there's a sense of that presence again. Not speaking, just there. A reminder that there are mysteries that defy explanation. Without that voice, without those commands, there would be no story to tell. Just another person lost at sea. Maybe we're not supposed to understand everything. What matters is this. In the darkest moment, when all seemed lost, something was there. Something that cared. Something that saved a life. Call it what you want. Guardian angel. Survival instinct. Divine intervention. The label doesn't matter. We are not alone. Even in our darkest moments, even when death is breathing down our necks, we are not alone. There is something that reaches into the darkness and pulls us back to the light. If you've ever experienced something you can't explain, you're not alone. Your story matters. These impossible moments remind us that we live in a universe full of wonder and mystery. A universe where voices can speak in the darkness, where hope can survive when logic says it shouldn't. Have you ever heard a voice when you were alone? Have you ever felt a presence that shouldn't have been there? Share your story in the comments. And if you found this meaningful, hit that subscribe button. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes we all need to be reminded that mystery still exists, that hope still lives, and that we are never, ever truly alone.